Hello everybody, welcome back to 40 Days with Dietrich, our journey through the season of Lent. Today's excerpt is again taken from Ethics. It follows very much in line with, or on the heels of yesterday's reading. Yesterday's reading was the idolization of death, and we talked about that yesterday. This reading talks about the new humanity. And so instead of talking about what it means to idolize death in the world, Bonhoeffer here will begin to discuss what does it actually mean for Christ's resurrection to have overturned that, and what implication does that have for how Christians live in the world. So the title given to this excerpt is The New Humanity, and again it is taken from Bonhoeffer's work, Ethics. Dietrich writes, "Where it is recognized that the power of death has been broken, where the miracle of the resurrection and new life shines right into the world of death, there one demands no eternities from life. One takes from life what it offers, not all or nothing, but good things and bad, important things and unimportant, joy and pain. One doesn't cling anxiously to life, but neither does one throw it lightly away. One is content with measured time, and does not attribute eternities to earthly things. One leaves to death the limited right it still has, but one expects the new human being and the new world only from beyond death, from the power that has conquered death. Within the risen Christ, the new humanity is born, the final, sovereign yes of God to the new human being. Humanity still lives, of course, in the old, but it's already beyond the old. Humanity still lives, of course, in a world of death, but is already beyond death. Humanity still lives, of course, in a world of sin, but we are already beyond sin. The night is not yet over, but day is already dawning." Quite a lovely passage, and again, pairing that from yesterday, talking about what does it mean for the Christians to live in this world with a different ethos than that which is the idolization of death. And for Bonhoeffer, and a lot of Bonhoeffer's writings, what you see is an embodiment in this world. There is a thisness, if that's a word, a thisness to the life of faith. So it's not escapism. It's not living fancifully in a different world or in a different time. It accepts radically what life is all around us. It doesn't reject it. It doesn't forsake it, but it resides in the midst of that, because that's the incarnation, God dwelling in the midst of us. And so that's where Bonhoeffer talks about we take from life what it offers us, and so we don't treat it as all or nothing. Right? It's not found in, well, I have to be successful, I have to be always joyful, I have to be at the top of life, and so I push away everything that is, negative or hurt or painful. We reside in the murkiness or the messiness of life, and that's the place of faith. So we take from life what it offers. We take the good things, but also the bad things, the important things, but also the unimportant. We take the joy and the pain. So we don't anxiously cling to success and joyful life, but neither do we just think that life is frivolous and we know it doesn't need to matter. So there is this radical place of dwelling with Jesus in the context of whatever life is in that moment. Jean-Pierre de Cassude would talk about the sacrament of the present moment, and Bonhoeffer very much is writing about kind of the same thing, about recognizing kind of the holiness of this time and this place as we reside with Jesus. And so the power of the cross allows us to do that because it allows us to accept Christ in that moment. And when we accept Christ in that moment who comes to us in the midst of some of the stuff that we may struggle with or work against, we are able to, he'll talk about kind of transcend beyond that. We live beyond that. And again, that's not a denial of death. He talks about death still has its limited sphere of, when leaves to death, a limited right it still has. Death is still there, and pain is still there. And again, Bonhoeffer is writing in the midst of atrocity. So there's an importance of recognizing that. And yet, but in the light of Jesus, we do see that full redemption is available not through our mastery, not through our pushing these things away, but through the power of the one who overcomes it. And so full life and full resurrection and full redemption is seen in joining Jesus in the presence of this life. And he has that lovely passage where he talks about, the night is not yet over. We recognize the darkness of the world that we live in, and yet dawn is still here. Dawn is still coming. It's already beginning to break because God's power and God's work is continually working. Just as a final thought, when I read that the night is not yet over, but the day is already dawning, one of the things I thought of was Bonhoeffer's very last words before he was executed. It is recorded that his very last words were, "This is the end, but for me it is also the beginning." And I think this is what this points to, that the power of the resurrection means even in those places where we come up with that uncomfortable reality, in whatever way, of an end. Through Jesus, we also recognize that there is also a beginning, because Jesus brings forth life, even in the midst of those places of darkness. Well, God bless you all as you journey through the season of Lent, and I look forward to talking with you tomorrow.